Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the next video in the live code review session series with UiPath Aspirant, where we review the code which is written by them. This is the second video in this series. In case you have not watched the first video, I have put the links in the description so you can refer that. This time I have given a problem statement to one of the aspirant. The objective here was that he completes the solution, and once the solution is completed, I was supposed to do the code review. So this video is the recording of the code review session which we have. Before directly jumping to the code review, let us first understand what was the problem statement which we are trying to address. In my folder structure, I have a folder which is called invoices, which has several invoices for separate company. This is how the invoices look like, where it has the typical invoices detail along with the item, the quantity and the price. But something is missing here. You would notice that there is no total in the invoices, right? So all the invoices only have item, quantity and the price, and there is no total, right? Now the objective. So the objective here is that you have to read all the invoices one by one from the folder like this. You would have this kind of grid which we have just seen. We have to write a robot where we have to calculate the total by each item, and then at the end we have to evaluate the sum as well, right? For example, for the laptop it was 20 into 500, so we get 10,000, mouse, CPU, and at the end we have to get this total. We have to repeat this for all the invoices, and this is how the final output should look like, right? The final output should be in form of an Excel, right, where it would have the invoice data, the client, the due date and the total. This total is nothing but the total which you have received here. In case of any exception, such as the due date is passed, the total is coming in negative, or any of the exception, we need to have a separate sheet in the same Excel with something which is called the exception details, right? So basically we have to sum up all the items in the invoices, and we have to also get the exception. So this was the problem statement which was given. The aspirant completed it, and in this video we are reviewing the code as per the best practices of UiPath. In case you also want to have such live conversation with me regarding any of the topic, may it be code review or any of the topic understanding, you have to just email me on the email ID which is mentioned in the description, and we can connect one-to-one. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the latest video updates. Having said that, let's get started.
Yes, I can see the screen. Okay, so this is the project folder. Okay,
Yes,
and
yes.
can you explain, yeah, what you have done and what is the thought process?
Yeah. So I have created a folder called data.
Mm-hmm.
So in this, I have kept the PDF file.
Okay.
And I have created another output folder.
Okay.
And here I'm storing the output file here.
Okay, so yes, so we are getting the invoice number, client, due date, and all those things, right?
Yes.
Fine. Okay.
Yes.
So this is
this
working.
is the exception.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is working.
Okay. Can you go back to the code?
Yeah. So this is the code.
Okay, so this is in main.xaml. Okay. Now,
yes.
First activity, which activity you have used? You have used the build data table to build the total. Okay, and then what is this data table? This is for the exceptions.
Exception.
Right. Okay, then what is the next?
So next is I'm taking the assign activity and I'm giving the path of the PDF file.
Okay, can you go to directory.getFiles? Click on that. Okay, so this is taking the path of Raghav. So if I want to run this automation on my machine, will this automation work?
No, it will not work.
Why?
So it says, it is storing in C uses Raghav. So for that reason, I have placed I have created a data folder inside the project folder.
Right, so that means if I have to run this automation, it would run, right? And if today I deploy this automation to UiPath Orchestrator and Raghav change his location from data to, let's say, data 2, then I need to do a code change.
Then in that case, we need to create an asset in the orchestrator, and we need to store this particular path in the asset.
Okay, so can you take a copy and pen and note this down, all of these things, that what all you have to change? This is the first change,
Yes,
right?
yes.
In your
Yes.
code, there should be no hard coding, right? Either it should come from
Exactly.
assets or it should come from a config file. Okay, that is the first thing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's next? Hit cancel. Continue now. Okay, so
And
for
here,
each file in the file path, so right, you have got for each file, and then you have what exactly that start process is doing.
so here it is taking each PDF. I mean, it is looping through each and every PDF.
Okay.
And it is starting a start process. I mean, a PDF. It's an application.
Okay, so it is starting that PDF with that file, and then okay. Now one question here. Do you think everybody will have the same application path? C program file, Adobe 11 reader. So let's say I am having a Adobe version of 10. Will this code work?
No.
Okay. So again, the same thing. Fine. Okay.
Yes.
Fine. Now come down. Then you are trying to have used, and this one you are using plain data extraction to get those details, right? Okay,
Yes,
come down.
yes.
And the variables name are correct. Okay, so some of the things which you have done correctly is that you have renamed the activities properly. That is a good practice. Okay. And I can see the variable names are also proper. Fine, come down. So you are getting the due date, and then you are extracting this data table in DT PDF. Okay. Yes. And then you are checking this condition. Come down. If this condition is successful, you add it to this. Otherwise, okay, for the current row, you are just calculating the sum. Okay.
Right.
Come down, come down. Okay. Okay. Come down more. Okay. Can you go up, scroll up a little bit?
Okay.
Okay. So first of all, right, scroll up. This code has to be built in, different workflow. So what do I mean by that? So for example, if I ask you, I only want to see if the total functionality is working or not. Okay. My entire automation is working fine. I am facing some issues only in evaluating the total.
Okay.
Okay. So you have that body, right? Total sum. So let's say I am getting some issue in that part. Now, as per your design, what would happen? Every time I need to do something, I would have to run the automation from the beginning. Is that true?
Right. Yes, yes, absolutely.
So do you understand that there is an activity which is called invoke workflow?
Yes, yes.
Right.
Here,
so
yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so what could have been a better approach? You tell me.
So in that case, we need to create a separate workflow for this particular, this particular
functionality.
This particular, right, functionality, and we need to invoke that particular workflow. Yeah.
Fine. Okay. Now, so that is one thing, that the division of workflow should be divided into proper XAML files. Okay. Scroll up more. Now, can you just collapse this try, which is there, right? Try catch, just collapse the try. Okay, come up. So here you are attaching the browser. Okay. Now tell me what happens if this activity fails, attach browser activity fail. What would happen to the automation?
Yeah, it would have, the process will terminate.
No, so where is the exception handling? How would you know that this activity has got? So as of now, it will simply stop the automation, right? There is no exception handling for this attached browser. Any specific reason for not doing that?
Yeah, it didn't, That would have, I mean, this part would have been kept in try catch, but I didn't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a learning. I'll do that.
Okay, so fine. One more thing. So this robot, whatever we are building, is an unattended robot. Okay. So that means I would trigger it from orchestrator. Right. So how would you know which step the robot has executed and which step it has failed? Okay, so let's say your automation is having 20 steps, 1 to 20, right? Just taking a number. From the orchestrator, I trigger this process and I just getting a start and end. How would I know what has happened to my robot? Where are the logs?
Right.
Okay. Next question. Are you taking a note of all this?
Yes, I'm doing it.
Next question. How would you know the process has completed successfully?
Again, it's the same thing like log message.
Log message, send an email.
Email, right.
Right. Now, how do you know that how many invoices you processed today? Okay. Tell me without looking at the folder that how many invoices you processed. How many PDFs were there? Can you tell me? Someday it might be 10, someday it might be 20, right? How do you know?
Right. We need, I mean, I would have kept the count of it. I mean, the counter.
Right. You should have always kept a counter. Okay. So that is something which comes into the logging only, right? So the logging should have been done proper. Okay. Now, the next thing. I have a simple question. You have got 4 invoices. One fine day, what happens? Only 2 files are successful and third file got a failure. Now what would happen to the automation?
The process might terminate.
The process would terminate, right? Now,
right.
When I rerun the automation, my PDF 1 and PDF 2 are already completed. PDF 3 and PDF 4 has to be evaluated again.
Okay.
Correct? Is my understanding correct?
Yes.
Right. So because 1 and 2 were already successful in the first run. So now when I rerun the automation, right? Because if it is failing, we would retry, right? We would retrigger the automation from orchestrator. Now, in your automation, what would happen? It will again reprocess
1 and 2.
1 and 2. So what do you think should be the correct way?
So whenever there is an exception, the retry should be added to the
retry should be added. And which transaction should be retried?
The one which is failing, which is the third. In our case, it would be third and fourth.
The one which is failed, or the one which is in new status, or I would simply say the one which are not successful at least.
Right.
Is it happening in your automation now?
No.
Okay. Next question. So you are creating this automation for some business, right? One fine day, you go to the folder which is directory.get files, file path, and you get 0 PDF there.
Okay.
What would happen?
So if there is no data, I mean, the process would start and end, or else it should. I mean, it should throw some message or an email stating there is no data to process.
And which kind of exception it should be? It should be a business exception or it should be a system exception?
So it would be a business, I guess.
Right. So do you think we need to add business exception in this code?
Right.
Right. Okay. All of these activities which are lying outside the try catch, any activity can break, right? In your get file path, if I simply go and add a space, it would not be able to find the folder and it will break. So there is no exception handling, right? Exception handling has to be done properly. Your system exception should be separate. Your business exception should be separate. Why you have not built this in a RE framework?
Yeah, since we have, the PDF files are like 5. I have built in the normal process. But yes, it would have, since it is a transactional basis, I think I would have done in an RE framework.
Okay, so a better way would be using a dispatcher and a performer robot, right?
Performer, right.
The dispatcher only reading the data from the folder, adding the details to the queue, right? Now, what to add to the queue, you can decide. You can add the complete file name, path of the PDF, or extract the PDF detail, then add it to the queue. The processing part has to be in the performer. If not doing the dispatcher performer model, at least you should have taken care it as a transactional processing, right? Where each transaction is treated separately. Now, as of now, what is happening in your automation? For example, there are 10 invoices in the folder. Okay. 9 invoices are correct. The first invoice is having exception. Okay. So there are 10 invoices, 1 to 10. Invoice number 1 is corrupt. Okay. It is having exception, but invoice number 2 to 10 are exactly correct and they are working fine. Okay. But when you run your process, what would happen? If the first PDF is breaking, your entire automation will stop. Am I right?
Correct.
So do you think, is it the correct approach?
No.
What should be the correct way?
I mean, even though the first is having an exception, it's the board should process the other file.
Right.
So whenever there is, yeah,
it should process the other file. Now a different question. So while processing the first one, or let's say for that matter, any transaction, you got a system exception, right? Where the PDF was not responding, Acrobat, right? Do you think should I strictly directly go and terminate the process, or I should at least have retried?
Should retry.
Chances are there, right? If I kill the PDF and retry, it might work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So that part is also missing.
Okay. So many things to.
Okay. Last thing.
Yeah.
You are the business owner. Okay. Raghav is business for this process. Raghav is keeping the files. Okay. Assuming that this is a daily process. So Raghav has kept 10 files. This process triggered. How would Raghav know which all are successful, which all are failed, which all are business exception?
Board should send an email.
Send an email, or at least notify, or at least log this information somewhere, right? That I have got 10 invoices, 5 are successful, 3 got system error. I retried. Since it is not working, I am failing it. 2 got business exception. Right. One more thing. I have intentionally gave you a condition where the condition was that you need to match the date. Right? Date of the invoice.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I have to ask you, give me the invoice name where the date was not matching. Can your robot give it to me?
No, it is just checking the due date.
Okay, but if I have to know that which all have passed my date check and which all has failed, how would I know?
So here in output file, it is just giving like invoice number and exception, but not exactly the date.
Right. So do you think that we need to have an information that yes, this invoice did not process because of this one, right?
Right.
Okay. Now go back to your automation. Come down. Where are you? Output report. Where is this output folder?
So it's in the same project folder.
Okay, in the project folder. If I publish this code to orchestrator, what would happen? The output report is getting created in the project folder, right? When you deploy this code to orchestrator and when you run it, right? The files would be created in the machine where the unattended robot is working.
Okay.
How would the user or you get it?
Okay. So instead of this, I think we can send out an email, the output file which is generating. I think
as an attachment, maybe.
without any.
Yes, as an attachment,
Yeah,
we
yes,
can
yes.
keep,
Right.
you can keep this path in a shared location configuration. Okay.
Yes.
I do not want my sheet name to be total. I want the sheet name to be aggregated file.
Okay.
So you need to change the code. Right?
Right. Right.
Do you think that it should be configurable?
No. I mean, we need to place this particular name in the asset and.
Okay. Now, in the right range, you are using a data table called DT1, right? You have renamed the data table DT exception properly. Why have you not renamed it to proper something called DT output or DT data, anything, right? Why DT1? If I am the new developer, by looking at the DT1, will I be able to understand?
No.
Right, so naming convention.
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Right.
Before writing the data into the data sheet, right, total sheet, what happens if the DT1 is having no records, 0 records?
Okay.
What will happen?
A bot will not write to, I mean, there is no data to write to the.
Right, so it will simply a blank Excel.
Blank.
So do you think I need to first check whether the data is there? If the data is not there, there is no point in writing it to Excel.
Right.
And how can I check that? Data table dot rows dot count. Just count the number of rows, right?
Okay. Yes.
Go to the project. On the menu, go to the project. No, in the UiPath only, the project tab. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you just expand it to like this? Okay. Are you sending any emails?
No.
Why you have the mail dependency then? What is the use of the mail dependency?
Okay.
Do I really need this?
I mean, no, not required. I think I would have run the workflow analyzer here.
Yes. Okay. Expand the data folder. Again, there's data and all we have already discussed, right? It should be coming outside. Okay. Next question. And this would be my final one. I have got how many invoices today in your folder? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 invoices, right? How much time your robot is taking to process one invoice? Can you open a calculator for me, please?
Yeah.
Okay. How much time the robot is taking to process one invoice?
Let's say like 30 seconds.
30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So for one invoice, it is taking 30 seconds. So for 5 invoices, it would be taking 150 seconds, right?
Yes, 1.5 minutes.
1.5 minutes. My invoices increases to 5,000. How much time it will take? Can you please calculate?
1,50,000 seconds.
Seconds divided by 60. Okay. This many minutes, right? Divided by 60.
Yes.
60. 41 hours approximately.
41 hours. Right.
So if I have to process 5,000 invoices, my robot should run 41 hours, approximately to 2 days, more than 2 days, right? Not good at very much, not good at maths, but if my transaction increases, my robot is going to run a huge amount, So it's a simple question, right? What happens if the number of transaction increases from 4 to 400? So your robot is going to run for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, right? This current robot.
Right.
So what do you think I should do? If the number of transaction increases, what ideally should happen?
I think we can add more robots to process this.
Right. Absolutely. Right. We need to add more robots. Right. But
right.
If I deploy this process to orchestrator, how would, so let's say the number of transaction increases and I go to the client and I say, hey, Mr. Client, that your transactions have increased. So instead of 1 robot, I want you to give me 5 robots. Okay. He gave me 5 robots. Now, My 5 robots, how would they divide the work equally among them? So I have got 100 invoices. 20 invoices they have to pick, right?
Right.
How they will pick 20 invoices? And how does your program make sure that the robot A has taken the first 20 invoices, robot B is not taking those? You are understanding the question?
Yes, yes.
How would you divide the workload between the 5 robots?
I'm not sure about this question.
Orchestrator queues is the answer. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I think it will pick up the transaction which is in new status and
Yes,
new item
yes.
which is in.
Yes, it will. You simply have to go and add the items to the queue, and then you schedule the process on the 5 robots. 5 robots will automatically divide the work themselves. This is the functionality of orchestrator. And whenever the item is added, the status is new. So whenever somebody picks the item, the status is automatically changed to in progress, right? So the robot B, C, and D does not have to worry about it, right? So that is missing in your robot. Okay. So that is it. I'll take a pause. Okay. And if you have any questions, happy to answer. So now a question to you. Do you think your automation is client ready automation?
No, not exactly.
Not exactly, right? So do you think we can do better?
Yes, exactly. We can do.
Okay. So now you know what has to be done?
Yes.
Okay. Then work on these points and let me know once you are done. Okay. So I told you, right? I would be treating as this I have given, I am the client and I have to evaluate this process, right? It's not like simply doing it, right? So I could have simply done it in a sequence, right? Anybody could do it. But when we are writing a real-time automation for a client, it should be on standards, right? And these are some of the questions which you should always take care of. Okay.
Right. Yes. Got it.
Okay. Any questions for me?
So Mukesh, just wanted to check, like, I mean, how can we add this particular process to RE framework? I mean, I mean, I didn't work on any real-time projects, so just wanted to take your inputs, like.
Okay, so if you go to the YouTube, right? So in my channel, there is a use case which is called the generate HR offer letter. Okay, that use case is built on dispatcher and performer, and it is using the orchestrator queues. Okay, that is a step-by-step description of how do you use RE framework. I will share you all the input files. You have to practice that use case. That will give you a clear understanding of dispatcher and performer, right? Okay, in case you want to use RE framework without the queues, how do you do it, right? So that use case is also uploaded. So both of them are available on the channel. Have a look into it and you will get most of the questions.
Okay. Sure, Mukesh. Thank you for your input.
I hope you found this session. Any inputs? How was it? Was it good? Was it bad?
Yeah, it was good actually. I came to know so many things every time.
Okay. Okay.
And,
I hope I was not being rude to you, asking so many questions.
No, you're not.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, Mukesh, and thank you so much for your time.
Okay, so that is all for this video. I would like to wrap this video here. I hope you found this video insightful and you understood some of the basic best practices which we need to follow whenever we are writing a code in UiPath. In case you also want to have a similar conversation, all you have to do is just drop me a note on the email ID which is mentioned in the description. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel and happy automation.